Story 1. I saw this posted in another thread similar to this, but I can't find the comment or commenter, so I am paraphrasing here. A man in the Florida area received a settlement or inheritance in the low six figures. He bought several damaged Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and other luxury cars, made them look brand new, but did not fix their mechanical parts. He rents these supercars to celebrities and influencers for thousands of dollars for about 6 hours, delivering the cars to the customer's preferred location. The customers use the cars to take pictures as if they own them. Once the rental period ends, the cars are quickly moved to another photo shoot. Story 2. Painting gaming miniatures is something I would be doing anyway, so why not do it for other people and get paid? Story 3. Donating plasma. The name is a misnomer. Places like BioLife will pay you for it. Can hurt, so if you are squeamish, it may not be for you. You have to drink a lot of water and avoid certain foods 24 hours before donation. If that is okay with you, though, donating 8 hours a month to 1 hour sessions per week for over $500, at least in my area, and helping people like those on dialysis is a win-win situation. I bought my first car when I was in college with that money. My uncle's spouse is on dialysis, so it was really meaningful to talk to her and know that I am helping people like her. Story 4. Every time I harvest my crops, I put the silver, gold, and iridium quality ones in the bin, but I save the regular quality ones to turn into seeds so that I do not have to buy them next year. It saves a lot of gold. Story 5. Selling items I am getting rid of on Facebook Marketplace. Even the most random things have sold. Story 6. I do dog sitting. I have had dogs my whole life, and when my most recent one passed away, I did not want to commit to owning a new one. It occurred to me that I am excellent with dogs and have a good house with a big, fully secure yard. I charge $50 per night to have dogs at my house. Honestly, I would do it for free because I love dogs. People are happy to pay because they know the quality of care is good. During busier periods, when I am in high demand, I increase my prices slightly, making a few $100s a month. Story 7. Chainsaw carving. I have developed a bit of a following. This time of year, it is hard to keep up. Story 8. Growing and selling marijuana, but then they legalized it. Story 9. Writing erotica is easy money for me with just an hour or two a day. Story 10. Driftwood sales. Taxidermists and reptile enthusiasts paid my mortgage for the last 2 years. Having access to a small lumber kiln is not something most people have, so I got lucky there. Thank you, Paw. Story 11. Freelance writing was my top secondary job for extra cash. Story 12. Selling gold in video games. Definitely only doing it in video games that allow this. Story 13. Selling alcohol to minors. When I was in college, I was the only one with a fake identification card. I had a full beard and I spoke Hindi to alcohol store owners who could do the same. Story 14. I stopped selling drugs 13 years ago in California, but I started selling on eBay a few years ago. Now, it is my only source of income, and it is successful enough for me to call it life-changing. Story 15. I work as a tour guide, mostly in the summer since I work in high school during the school year. Pays well and the people are amazing. Story 16. Disability rating from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Not really a hustle, I am legitimately broken, but it is better than a part-time job. Story 17. English as a second language teaching has become my main career while I am pursuing my second degree in college. Story 18. Digital transcriber for Christian organizations and speakers. Earned approximately $22,000 in less than 1 year. Story 19. I've had a few experiences. One where I, as someone who used to work in disability services, help locals navigate the various disability benefit systems, assist disabled people in finding jobs, a place to live, and getting their life properly organized so they can focus on what they want and need to do. I don't charge much, often nothing, but there are many people who need it. Even if they send me $30 to $50 here and there to write up a helpful plan with some resources and a brief summary of the calls they will be making and what to say, I feel good, and I can take my wife out for a nice dinner more often. I also help locals set up their home theater systems and other home technology. It is usually very easy, but people will pay me $40 to $50 per hour to do it. Sometimes they offer old technology like tube televisions and old speakers, or a six-pack of beer and some cannabis. Older hippies make the best clients. They never ask me to explain anything, always bring bonus gifts, pay in cash and round up my time spent, never complain about prices, keep their houses unusually clean, provide high-quality cannabis, avoid strange racist talk, do not rush me, and always make me feel like a valued guest or dear friend in their home. I charge a similar rate for helping someone build a personal computer. I get their equipment up and running, include a few free games, and go home after a fun afternoon of drinking beers and assembling a computer, with some extra cash in my pocket. Story 20. I used to sing in church choirs for pay. It was not a lot of money for me now, but it was about $40 to $50 per hour when I needed it. It is great if you have the skills to do it and live somewhere where people are willing to pay for it. Story 21. As a side note, do not waste your time with the side hustle subreddit. It is mostly teenagers asking how they can make money without working. Story 22. Investing in Lego. Over the 10 years I have been doing it, I have made about $150,000. You buy multiples, say 10 or so, of sets that are likely to be popular when they retire while they are on sale. Online sales are great for this since sometimes the discounts are close to 30% off the sticker price. When the sets retire, most sets run for about 3 years, you can sell them at a profit. It is normally worth waiting a year or two after they retire, as that is when the on-demand sets increase the most in value. It does mean tying money up in an asset that could be worth nothing, aside from mad respect from children, though. Story 23. I took pipe organ lessons in addition to my piano lessons from age 10 to 17. I substitute at churches occasionally. Some of them pay very well. Story 24. When I was a teenager, I used to work in stables. They had a service where they would set up personal computers for people and assemble their furniture like office desks and cabinets for a modest fee. I provided the same service for half the price. Story 25. The National Guard is about 1/3 of my retirement income. While I was in, it provided me with many car payments and extra money while I was on unemployment. Story 26. Selling used clothing, if you know what I mean. Really nothing to it. Just wear what you normally would and find the right buyers. Don't deceive people and be real. It makes a good side hustle. Story 27. I joke about how I play music to support my habit of waiting tables, but lately, I have been making significant money by pressing shirts for local businesses in my off time. I started because I was always let down by other local shirt workers who could never meet a deadline. I decided to do it myself, and I am now getting business from multi-million-dollar companies who want services and deadlines to be met. The method of pressing I use requires a learning curve, but if you are smart enough, it is incredibly lucrative. Story 28. Medical legal consulting. I wish I could do this full-time some days when I am stuck at the hospital. I pay for entire vacations with a few hours of work. Story 29. Train artificial intelligence in your free time. The lowest pay is $20 per hour, and the highest I have seen so far is $26 per hour, but I am still fairly new. You do not have to work a full hour either. It is as long as you want, whenever you want, rounded to the nearest minute. Story 30. Golf. I got really good at it and started playing tournaments. Now I have a lifetime loss of about $3,000. Story 31. Waiting for a politician to say something stupid does not take long. Then, I make stickers related to whatever they said and post them in any Facebook group that agrees. It is an easy way to make $500 or more while just watching television as I get the stickers made. Story 32. My former partners used to live on disability benefits and work as escorts, so I should ask them because I honestly have no idea. Story 33. I was making designer upcycled jewelry until Chanel shut my 2 online stores down because, heaven forbid, ordinary people own something fancy. Story 34. Instacart and DoorDash. I paid off my car with Instacart before the pay decreased. They used pay per item picked with good bonuses for heavy items, large orders, and so on. After California voters passed Proposition 22, I can average $30 to $33 per hour with DoorDash, just driving around listening to podcasts and audiobooks. Even after taxes, gas, and car wear, I am still making $22 to $24 per hour in take-home money. I tell my friends who need cash that if they have a car, it is a seriously easy way to make money. Just track your miles and get a card with good rewards for gas purchases. Story 35. Substitute teaching. I usually pick up a shift on my day off if I am feeling up to it. The pay is not great, but depending on the job, I am able to work on my own schoolwork extensively. I love the flexibility. The work environment is a nice change of pace from my full-time job, and it is another thing to add to my resume. Story 36. I started college in 2004. For the most part, almost everyone had a computer in college, but they were still treated like arcane magic devices that only wizards, priests, and nerds were qualified to work on. Fortunately, I was a nerd and knew how to build and fix them. For 2 or 3 years in college, that was my income. There were only a few other people at my school doing it, so we pretty much carved up campus like cartels set up territories and markets. I even managed to get bulk pricing from Newegg and had my own technical support contact that I could call directly at advanced micro devices. The work was very easy. 90% of my jobs were just doing backups and reformats or building a standard school computer that I could assemble between classes. It paid for my first car, plenty of alcohol, and a fun spring break in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Story 37. Reselling items I find at thrift stores and garage sales has been successful for me. It is surprising how much people are willing to pay for things like vintage clothes or old electronics. It is fun to hunt for good deals, and I get to keep most of the profit since my costs are low. Story 38. In high school, I made quite a bit of money selling forged Michael Jordan autographs. Story 39. Running a small three-dimensional modeling and printing business, as well as making stickers and memorial pieces for customers. Story 40. Every year I work at the local government elections. Pays not badly and you do not have to do much. Story 41. Dog sitting. I needed a sitter, and the lady was booked, so I offered to help if she ever needed it. She sent clients to me frequently, and I made approximately $6,000 from one client alone. It is not for the faint of heart. One of those dogs was the most aggressive dog I had ever seen. Story 42. TikTok has made around $30,000 since last October. I invest about 20 minutes a day to create videos. Story 43. Floating shelves. Little time on the table saw, little time each morning spraying finish coats. $100 per foot of shelves, plus or minus $20 per foot for wood type. Purple Heart is on the upper end because it is very gummy and burns on the bevel. $100 per shelf installation. Easy $1,500 a weekend when business is busy. When I want to make some quick money, I batch out 4 to 5 from a single sheet of nice plywood, stain them, build the mounts, include all hardware to mount them, and sell them for $300 a piece. Story 44. Not to me personally, but I have seen resume, business writing, and ghostwriting services to be incredibly lucrative for someone I knew. You would utilize Fiverr and several other services. I am happy to guide others to this opportunity because I hope it generates wealth for someone and also creates more competition in an otherwise bloated and overcompensated market. Story 45. Helping some people at my father-in-law's shop carry brake rotors to the junkyard. They gave me $300 every week. Story 46. Sold meal preps locally before companies like Factor were available. I also sold meal plans on social media. I made good money for the work, but it became too time-consuming to be worth it. I never liked social media, so I deleted all my accounts, which made it impossible to continue. Story 47. Old phones loaded with bandwidth-selling applications and online surveys. It is not a large amount of money by any means, but an extra $20, $30, or $40 here and there is nice. Story 48. As with anything, how lucrative a venture becomes is directly proportional to how rare the skill is. For me, it is 2 things: marine upholstery and mechanic work. Especially with the upholstery, very few people know how to do good work in this area. If you can do decent work at a reasonable price, it is very easy to make $1,000 per week extra by doing a few projects a month. Story 49. This was not directly very lucrative, but it helped me get a promotion. I created spreadsheets and provided technical support for a small roofing and gutter cleaning company. They had everything on paper. I developed spreadsheets for their work, which significantly reduced missed jobs. They also needed computers but were being misled about what to buy. They did not need a graphics processing unit when they had an integrated graphics processing unit, as all they required was spreadsheet software. I earned about $500 per year doing this, but it allowed me to enhance my resume and helped me transition out of my previous role. Story 50. I am a wedding minister in Japan. I once made $2,000 in a day working 6 hours, though it is not nearly as lucrative as it used to be. Story 51. Taking online surveys. Selling a niche item that is only available in my husband's home country on eBay. I don't exactly approve of the use of this item. Don't worry, it is legal. But their sale helps feed my family. Story 52. Not so much anymore, but during COVID-19, I made good money doing handyman work. I lost my job and eventually started doing yard work and fixing things for the elderly women I knew through family and friends. Mostly yard cleanups. I removed and replaced a paver walkway on the side of a house, replaced many electrical outlets and switches, reorganized one person's entertainment system, and dug a hole to plant a tree. I made almost as much as my previous job, worked only 2 to 3 days a week, but there were no benefits and it was hard on the body. Story 53. YouTube generates only a couple $100s a month from Google AdSense. However, I receive some free and discounted products from companies in the niche for which I create content. Story 54. I have a small YouTube channel with approximately 3,500 subscribers. I do not make a lot of money, but it is noticeable. I enjoy doing it because it is a hobby. Story 55. Buying computer equipment very cheaply and reselling it. I bought a $600 printer from my employer for $10 and sold it for $400. I also bought a few 1 and 2 rack unit servers from a university for $5 each because they did not know what they were. One server in particular was worth $1,200, while the others were easily over $500 each. Story 56. Took online training for software vendors while working at a computer store and received many free items. Sold them all on eBay for a total of approximately $5,000. Story 57. Reselling shoes. But before you judge, I am not that kind of shoe reseller. Story 58. Not a lot of money, but flipping a few items I find at Goodwill. Story 59. Hello to all the staff at the Australian Taxation Office who are reading this. Story 60. For almost 30 years, I have collected, repaired, restored, and raced vintage and antique snowmobiles. I live in Lower Michigan for context. When I first got started in the mid-1990s, absolutely nobody wanted them. Most of the time, people would help me load them up for free just to get them out of the yard. I would do my thing with them, and when the fun was over, I would sell or trade them. Over the years, I have owned about 300 of them and made anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000, although I haven't kept track. The secret was not buying them with a plan to flip them. I would pick up whatever was interesting or cheap and go through it like I was going to keep it. Once it was finished, I made the decision on what was a keeper. If I had done it strictly as a flip, it would have seemed too much like work. About 5 years ago, a buddy hired me to build gas caps for high-end hot rod and custom cars. These were not the typical plastic caps found on everyday drivers. They were sand-cast, hand-finished, and polished out of aluminum, stainless steel, and brass. He sold them worldwide and many ended up on high-end builds. It was not uncommon to sell them to people building cars for the Specialty Equipment Market Association. It was an absolute blast, and I would still love to be doing it. Unfortunately, he moved, and it is no longer economical to make the drive to the shop. Still, it was a really fun chapter in my life. Story 61. Very few people do what I do professionally for performing arts. My full-time job is limited to 40 hours per week, and I spend the rest of the time working other gigs. I make 3 times my current salary and pick up additional jobs. My standard rate is about $5,000 now. Story 62. Playing music at local bars and festivals is not very profitable, but it is very rewarding psychologically. It is good for my mental health. Story 63. My wife sells clothing on Poshmark, and my mother runs a chain of high-end boutiques. She gives my wife the clothes that do not sell at the end of the season, and we make about $1,000 a month from it. Story 64. Credit card travel rewards. I do not make or save a ton of money, but the return on investment on my time is very high. I once got 40,000 Chase points, worth roughly $400 on the low end, for sending one email from my husband to me with a referral link. If it took me a minute to do it, that is a $24,000 per hour wage. I am going on a trip shortly that costs about $6,000 with $4,200 of it paid for with rewards, maybe 8 to 10 hours of work to get that. I have just started at this, so as I get better at it, it will be even more efficient. Story 65. Flipping items on eBay started as a hobby, but finding and reselling vintage items has generated a decent extra income. Story 66. I don't have one now, but in college I was one of the only people with a truck. Every year in May and August, people would be moving out and moving in. For about 2 weeks, I helped many of my friends move their stuff. I didn't have to pack any boxes or organize, which I hate. I just helped load stuff into my truck and drove it to their new place. I never asked for money, but I often received food and beer. I was a poor college student, so getting meals and enough beer to last a few months was a big deal. A few people insisted on giving me money they would have otherwise spent on a rental truck or moving service. Story 67. Selling my old items on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I had many Lego sets and gaming collectibles. Story 68. I like the mechanic who goes to you pull it and then resells on eBay. That is arbitrage at its best. At my age, I think I will go for some passive income. Artificial intelligence can read a non-copyrighted book on YouTube. I was surprised to see some channels with books read in millions of views. It is not going to make you rich, but makes for a nice residual income. I like these guys at guapiguapguap.com. They are going to compete against Thumbtack, and they are free until it works. They are supposed to be coming out this month. It is a good place to list a side hustle. Story 69. Sign up to this service and refer others. You will receive $50 per person. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.